If you're a YouTuber, making money from your content is what keeps you creating. It's incredibly important. And that's why we are really excited to be partnering with Vuture on Unboxed. Vuture provides established YouTube creators with an upfront lump sum payment in exchange for future AdSense revenues for a set period of time. This means you can invest in your team, whether that's producers, thumbnail designers, editors, whatever you need to keep your content machine going forwards. Or equally, you could buy a new car or a house. So it's not just about keeping the industry going forwards, it's also about creators having a quality life, which is the bit that really matters, right? So if you are a YouTuber and you are interested in finding out more, head to vuture.com. Saffron, thank you so much for coming on Unboxed.
Thanks for having me.
Right, so I was thinking about where to start because there's so much that we can talk about and we will talk about. But I want to ask you firstly, what inspires you every day?
Definitely a lot of different things. I think when I say inspire, I think also motivate. So I think the people around me, honestly, I think I have a lot of really good people around me and they definitely inspire me and also just motivate me in life. I think they always have. For me, success is obviously what drives me, but also I think seeing my friends and family, success to me isn't just something that's financial. Yeah. It's something that's my parents' relationship and, their commitment and loyalty to things. That's kind of what inspires me to be a good person and also just motivates me in life. I don't know if that's the answer. Yeah. But...
And do you feel like you are, your definition of success, I guess, is partly around, the kind of happiness and the well-being of other people as well as yourself? Do you feel you're at a point now where you've kind of got that? Or do you still feel kind of looking for that?
Yeah, I would definitely say I'm happy. And I know that, I'm super blessed. I live such a fortunate, lucky life. And I've definitely been successful. I do think I always strive for more. Yeah. So I can't sit here and be I'm done now. I've hit happiness. I've hit my success and that's it. There's definitely still so much more that I strive for, which I don't know is necessarily a good thing. Sometimes when I speak to my friends, they're like, oh my God, you sound like you think you're unsuccessful. And I'm like, no, I know I'm successful. And I'm really genuinely so grateful for where I'm at. But also I still feel like there's so much more for me to accomplish in life. Yeah, but that's so important, right? The sense, not imposter syndrome, but having that restlessness a little bit where you're still kind of looking for something. Otherwise, for me personally, I feel like if you say, yeah, that's it, you've done with anything, right, then you're kind of, what do you do next? How do you keep motivating yourself every day, right? Well, that's it as well. That's what makes me happy is also striving for more. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. And you're 23? 22. 22. I'll be 23 soon. And you've been doing this since 15? Yes. Yeah. I think I just turned 15 when I started, so...
How did you know or was it an instinct to jump into this space at that age? Were you just a fan? How did you make the decision at such a young age? People just working themselves out to actually do this and take it seriously?
Well, when I started, it wasn't really too much of a thing. Obviously, there was what we call the OG YouTubers, right? Zoella and Joe, Sug and Cass Billy. And there was a lot of American people that I watched and stuff. But other than that, it wasn't too much of a thing. So when I first started, I didn't really realize it could be a job. And obviously, I was in school. I was in a girl band with my friends when I was younger. And honestly, I just thought genuinely I was going to be a pop star. That was going to be it. I'm just not very academic and I'm dyslexic and I didn't really like school. And so that's what I thought I was going to be. And then when we decided not to do that anymore, because, we were young and some of the girls got boyfriends so young, and stuff. Though. That's not just young, that's so young. Yeah. It's funny, you never feel young when you're young though, do you? I've got this, I'm big, for sure. I mean, so anyways, we split up from there and then I started, sorry, I haven't even answered the question yet. I rambled too much. Not at all. I guess I started because I didn't know what else to do with my life. Genuinely, I was like, what am I going to do now? I can't sit at a desk all day. I can't do that. I can't even sit still. And also every subject in school, aside from drama and dance, I hated them all, hated with a passion. And so my parents bought me a camera and was like, well, you watch it every day. So go and do it if you want to do it, sort of thing. So
amazing. And pop band, Right, being in a girl group. So what was that whole experience like for you? And how did that, I mean, you must have learned so much going through that process, because that's something which, at any age, there's so many learnings, ups and downs, but you probably had a bit of a roller coaster crash course in all of those things. Being what, was this at 14?
Yeah, this is like 13 and 14.
So how did that come about? Like, what was the process to even have that as now a part of, sort of the starting point of all of this for you in a way?
I always sang as a child and performed, and my mum was always like what a lot of people would call like a very pushy mum.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that she was, genuinely. She, like, if I wanted to do something, she was like, if you want me to support you and like back you up, then you need to like give 110%.
Yeah.
It became very serious very quickly. Like, we was going up to London nearly, I would say like every other day. We was up in London having meetings with people.
So you're going up to meetings. Like, what was it? Like, how did it become serious? Like, was it that did you have somebody who kind of was like, right, you guys have got something here? Like, what was the sort of moment where like, yeah, you're getting meetings in?
Well, we had a singing coach that believed in us more than anyone.
Yeah.
And also my mum believed in us more than anyone. Yeah. Like, I remember, honestly, every time like X Factor or like Britain's Got Talent came on, my mum was like, you should be there. You should be there. My mum, like, anything I want to do, she will like believe me 110%. Yeah. And my mum worked from home, whereas like obviously the other mums didn't. So my mum would be the person that would take us every day to sing in school. She was
and like
stuff.
Super close, so almost like a bit of a manager. So close.
It was literally like she was a manager. When we split up, both my parents actually cried. Like, they genuinely cried because they've invested so much time. So they had invested so much time. So I think it became serious over time, and also as we got better, more people obviously started to believe, oh, this could actually be something. I obviously can't speak for the other girls, but like I said before, I genuinely thought, like, we weren't close, but like I genuinely thought we were going to be this famous pop group, because I couldn't really see my life in any other way. I
mean, with that belief in that conviction that this is going to work, and then obviously it doesn't, like, how did that affect you in terms of your own motivation to go and not do it again, because you didn't go back into the same space, but still do something that is ambitious and that is, trying to hit some kind of target and try and make some success out of obviously YouTube, which you did amazingly. Like, what was that like to kind of go through that low, if you will, of an ending? Because it must have been kind of hard if you really thought this was it.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the low didn't last that long. Like, as much as I love singing, literally, it must have lasted like a week. I was really sad. I was really sad. I literally was like, what am I going to do with my life?
Yeah.
I'm somebody who's always believed in myself. I genuinely think if you don't believe in yourself, then nobody else will. So when I started YouTube, I was like, if I fail at this, that's just on me. So it didn't really like knock me down as such. Yeah. Like, I was like, it's fine, I'll do YouTube and I'll succeed in this, because if I don't, then that's kind of like my own fault. So
yeah. And what was the first video you made? What was day one for you?
The first video I made was when I was in America with my family, and it was school holidays, and it was like the first week of the school holidays. Obviously school holidays is like 6 weeks. And I was like, this is perfect.
Good days, that, wasn't it?
Because exactly, I love to have that off now.
Yeah.
I was like, this is perfect because I can't get bullied. And if I do, I would have already given it enough time to maybe have grown some sort of following before I go back to school. Because I'm quite like a strong person. Like, I can take a lot, but also nobody wants to be bullied in school. Nobody wants to be talked about in school. And where we was in a girl band before, we already got a lot of that. Like, everyone was speaking about us. No one liked the fact that we sang. There was always nasty comments.
Yeah.
And I never let it affect me too much, obviously. That's why I'm still doing what I'm doing. But at the same time, it does still affect you a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started the first week of the holidays, and it was literally just an American vlog, like with my family. I can't remember what it's called now, like I Love America or something. But it's so funny, actually. I said good morning over, genuinely, hand on my heart, over 100 times. And I couldn't do it. And it's funny now, I pick up a camera once and it is what it is. Yeah. But I was so unnatural. My voice is so different. It's crazy.
Have you watched it back?
Like, I've watched it back loads, and I sound like a literal different person.
I mean, you're 15. I mean, how did you find, when it picked up, and how quickly did it pick up for you? Well, did that 6-week sort of trial period, if you will, work? Or was it actually, you went back to school and then some of those comments came, some of the insecurity a little bit, which you were fearing, which is why you did it in summer. Like, did that 6-week period actually do it for you?
Yeah, I was lucky. I definitely grew very quick. There was never like a video for me that just blew up, but I did grow very quickly.
Yeah.
So when I went back to school, I definitely had, like, to be honest, I don't remember the exact numbers. I wasn't like 100,000 or anything near that, but I must have had like 20,000.
Enough people to be like, okay, this is going somewhere.
It's going somewhere, but still, it wasn't like, it was still my job. So people still had things to say, right? So
yeah. At that age as well, right? Obviously going out, like having those experiences, what was it like to kind of have all of that then be kind of thrown at you at that point? Because also at that time, right, the space, you know, having 100K, not everyone had even 100K. No, not many people had 1 million. Like it was still building, and there was still, you know, a level. Now it's, you know, there's so many people out there with 1 million subs, with 500,000 subs, whatever else. But at the time, like that kind of level it was huge. Like what was it like to kind of get those experiences into your life at such a young age? Because even for anyone at any time, that's amazing. That's a lot. But what was it like at 15, 16?
It was crazy. Yeah. Like it was a lot. I got recognized like everywhere I went. And although I said it, you know, my followers grew, you know, quite gradually, it still was very fast.
Yeah.
And like you said at the time, like that, not that many people was doing it. So it felt a lot more than it would feel now.
Yeah.
So it was a lot. I guess I felt a lot of pressure. I also knew in the back of my mind that, you know, it probably won't last forever.
Yeah.
So I felt a lot of pressure to like constantly be on it.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain what I guess I experienced at 15, but I didn't find it, although I felt a lot of pressure, I didn't find it hard because I kind of thought that's how my life would always be to some degree. Like I always thought I would entertain in some sort of way. So I almost like, obviously I wished and dreamt of it, but I almost, not expected it at all. No, that's probably not the right thing to say, but like.
But you knew that like putting in the work and with you being you and your conviction, kind of it's going to get there.
Yeah.
And was there a moment like when at that kind of period as well where you felt that kind of consolation beyond the 100K? Like what was your next step where you went, okay, this is like serious now, or this is really big?
Well, yeah, I think it was when I hit 100K and when I flew to LA for Nickelodeon, that was kind of when I realized it could be a job.
Yeah.
Because when I first started out and I was doing it, it was just a hobby.
Yeah.
Like I loved it. And then from that moment onwards, I realized it could be a job. And obviously, most people go straight off to college after school. I never went to college because it was kind of then that I was like, oh, this could actually be something. And my mum reminded me almost every day, it's not going to last forever. It's not going to last forever. So if you want it, you need to put some work in. So, yeah, I mean, when I was leaving school, that was kind of when I realized that this could be something, but I need to work really hard.
Because a lot of people I've spoken to and noticed, like, even with the numbers there, right? Like the decision to not go to uni, not go to college, like pursue that just as a backup option. A lot of people still find that a bit scary to go, and as you would, right, to go fully in, all in into this, right? Because you said, will this last forever? And at the time, especially, I don't think people maybe thought that it necessarily could in the same way. Like, was there any hesitation in you that was like, actually, I need a backup or I need something there? Or were you just like, no, I'm all in?
Honestly, no. There was no... Because I couldn't see another door for me either, though. That was why. And I fully believed in my 15-year-old little mind, this is going to be it. Like, this is what I'm going to do. And it was scary because although there was like Zoella and Joe and Casper and that doing it, they still hadn't been doing it for that long. So I still didn't know what would come after, but I knew that this was kind of what was meant for me. So there wasn't really any hesitation. And obviously, the decision was up to my parents as well at the time because I was so young.
Yeah, you're not even 18 yet, right? Like,
no, I was still 15 when I had left school. And it's crazy, actually, because all of my... Well, not all of them, but a lot of my parents' friends would say to my parents, you're crazy. Like, why would you not let your child go to, like, why would you not make her go to college? Like, this isn't even a proper job sort of thing. But the way that we saw it in my family was... I could go back to college at any point, whereas like with YouTube, I was growing now. So if I stopped, it's not like, oh, I can just come back to it in a few years.
I had
to make
you got to take the chance, right?
Then. Exactly.
And I guess if you and your family and your mum especially, right, was kind of probably had already got there with the girl band side of things, where she was probably like, right, if this is going to take off, you're going to be all in on that anyway. So she probably warmed up, and then you probably warmed up to the reality that you might have to sacrifice some of that time. So I can imagine it's a pretty natural shift then to be all in on this similar sort of world.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And how, I mean, it's interesting saying, you know, your family support must be so important then to you. Like, what is it about
them and how much of an impact have they had, and did they have on that time period for you in terms of like giving you the security to then go and actually smash it and give it your all? Because it sounds like from what you're saying, they were kind of instrumental in all of this in a way.
Yeah, well, I think the people that you're surrounded by obviously make an impact in you every day. And so obviously, because my family did believe in me and they were just such positive people, that just kind of, I guess, helped me reach my goals. But also my mum was quite a realist as well. Like, she was very, with the whole, like, it's not going to last forever. She kind of, you know, was a person that would humble me and put me back down to earth and was like, you need to work hard. So yeah, I think my family definitely because no one else believed in me. Like, no one did. And I don't even blame them because like it wasn't a thing at the time. So they've definitely helped me. But as I've got older as well, like, obviously I don't feel like, I obviously have my family's support. They help me so much, but you know, I definitely do it a lot more on my own now than I did then. But at the time, it must. And also, they was in my videos as well. Like, people loved my family as a whole. Like, I did a lot of things with them. Yeah, like my parents would walk the streets and would get like literally mobbed. It was crazy.
Do they still?
So, yeah, they still get noticed all the time. Yeah.
So. I mean, and that's another thing when you're bringing your family in, like, how did you balance kind of, you know, the content you're making, the demand to make sure that this does really well, with also your own kind of privacy as a family, your own sense of like, okay, this bit's ours. Like, how do you, because I find, like, speaking to a lot of people, that's also a difficult thing to balance. You're giving everything over to social, but what do you have for yourself? Like, did you find that challenging at the time ever, or was it quite natural for you guys?
To be honest, I think we were definitely too oversharing, and we didn't quite realize how much we was oversharing at the time. Like, we didn't really even think about it, to be honest. We kept thinking, people want to see more of us, so let's show them more of us. And we kind of just kept doing that. And I vlogged my life every day. I think in 2.5 years, I missed like 2 days. So
that is wild.
Yeah, and obviously my family was in it every day. So I think we overshared a lot, and we didn't quite realise until I got to a point where, you know, I almost hit like burnout and I was like, I'm going to stop daily vlogging. But yeah, there wasn't really a moment where we was like, what's too much and what's not enough. We didn't know.
I guess you're just going with it, right?
We just kept going with it. And that's it. And people kept asking for more. And when you're following someone's life every day, you know, you're like, well, what else can I tell them? Let's share more.
And then you're just like, there's a closet there for a reason, right? Like, some things have to. Was there ever a moment which sort of highlighted that to you, where you were like, you and your family were like, actually, no, that's too much? Or what was the line where you had to draw that boundary? Other than the burnout, was there any moment which actually, like, no, I didn't feel comfortable sharing that, but I did because maybe you felt you had to for the fans? Yeah,
well, I mean, we would get people like knock on our door like constantly and travel from like, you know, from up the country down south, which is where I live, like all the time, and knock on our door and like ask for pictures and stuff. And like, there was just no privacy. Like, people would wait outside our house all the time. I think that was a big point where, like, you know.
Did you ever consider like moving?
Yeah, my parents did consider it at some points. And my mum's job as well, which she stopped very quickly after this, but was like, basically, my mum was a foster carer, and so I had to be really cautious about like what I vlogged and stuff. And so that's quite like a private job. Like, you can't be sharing, you know, it's other people's information and
also
stuff.
the way you're scrutinized as well, like as in the rules and the regulations around it are so intense, aren't they?
Yeah. So when people are knocking on our door, like, we couldn't have that, and my mum then couldn't do that anymore. So my mum couldn't be a foster carer anymore, and so I think after that point I was like, I'm probably going to stop daily vlogging because it's a lot for the whole family. And
did you have like foster kids like in your house as well then?
Yes,
when you growing up?
Yeah.
Right, and were there any like, did that change? Like, that must have been a whole thing, right? Was there any impact on them or the, you know, how, I was just saying your mum had to stop, but was there any impact on them as well with you having this growth in your profile?
No, so my mum mainly looked after, so she did like mother and baby. Okay. So she taught like mums how to look after their children and basically, you know, hope that they would keep their baby at the end of it. That was like the goal. That's mainly what we did. Right. But we did have a few children that did come and stay with us. And we had somebody who lived with us for like a few years called Jordan, who we love. And he just became a part of it, honestly. Like he just, like he was in the vlogs, he was a DJ himself. It was like the whole family was just doing it. So yeah, I mean, it only impacted people positively. And everyone that came and stayed with us actually loved it. It was just obviously, as far as the system goes, right? You're just not really allowed to like share certain things.
Yeah, for sure. And then obviously full-time job for you at this point, right? And you're 16?
Yes.
Out of school, so don't go to college. So then when did you first like make money from it? And when did it become like commercially like, okay, this is a job which people who are more traditional, who maybe think, nah, this is just a little game. When did it become like real to even them where they're like, okay, yeah, fair enough? Like, was there a moment as well? What was the first time where you think, okay, this is commercially exciting as well for you?
I did a collaboration with Primark. And I brought out 3 like homeware collections with them. And obviously they're one of the biggest
Primark's like,
stores in the UK. And I think that was a moment where a lot of people around me was like, what the hell? Like, where's this come from?
I just saw you on the high street. What's this?
Yeah. And obviously I thought the same thing. And to be honest, that is still to this day probably one of the biggest, like most surreal pinch me moments, because I was so young. And that was just insane. So I think that was probably when I was like, well, and also I'd earned a lot of money from that as well. So that was probably.
And how do you manage, like, so, because this is one thing I'm obviously knowing your story, like how the bit that's I think so fascinating and amazing is how you managed to sort of keep yourself centered and grounded, and at such a young age getting that much money into your life, right? And obviously everything changing. It's hard for anybody at any age when they start really driving commercially, but to do it that young, like how I could think like, what would I do at 16? What would most people do at 16? They'd probably mess it up, they'd spend it all, they'd do whatever. But for you, clearly you've been able to put structures in place. It seems like, what were some of those structures to manage both the kind of business side as well as the output of what you were doing, like accountants? Like, what was the process for you, and how did you learn how to get that right?
Well, I'm definitely still learning. I wouldn't say I'm the best. Like, trust me, there's so many better things.
Speak to my accountant.
Literally. I mean, I wasn't really allowed to spend. I mean, I was allowed to spend a lot of my money. I bought myself lots of lovely things when I was 16 that, you know, a lot of my friends weren't able to buy. So I definitely was allowed to spend my money, but also, to be honest, my parents wouldn't let me spend it. It went back
to... They knew what you would do.
And it went back to, well, how long is it going to last? You need to save this money. So things I did, I mean, to be honest, I don't think I could advise anyone, because I probably would actually do a lot of things differently. And like, I bought a lot of crap that I thought like was just amazing at the time.
You built your own house right from scratch. Like, that is, that's the undertaking again. And like, what was it like for you to do that? Like, did you have to learn the process? Like, what inspired you to like make something from scratch rather than to buy something?
I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to buy something. I just couldn't find anything that I loved, and I didn't just want to just chuck money at a house that I just didn't feel like a home. And then, I just found land, and I was like, oh, well, I could just build a house. Well, actually, there was a house there first, but it was, you know, a big enough plot for me to be able to knock that down and build another house. The actual going to build a house originally just came from luck, genuinely. Because I actually put offers in for 2 other houses and they fell through.
Oh, no way.
I don't think I ever spoke about that online, but they fell through. And then I just ended up buying this house, and I thought, oh, do you know what? I'll build one. It's meant to be. Because I can't find anything. So it's meant to be.
And the video did amazingly well as well, right? When you revealed it, I think.
Yes.
And what was the decision like to document? Did you document the whole process? And was that reveal like the big kind of moment? Like, what was that like for you to do as well?
Yeah, I documented a lot of it, just because I guess, I wanted to show people the before and the after and the decisions that I was making, because they were quite big decisions. I just wanted anybody else that, you know, if anyone wanted to build a house, to kind of know what the process was. I mean, I like seeing like before and after like of homes and stuff. And so I just thought it was just quite a cool thing to film, to be honest. And also I've taken all my followers in the rest of like, you know, every other day of my life. So why not show this part? It's such a big part. So
and so let's look at the whole picture now, you've done this for 7 years. How would you describe like the changes that you've gone through in terms of your content specifically over that time? Because so much has changed, right? In terms of like Instagram being dominant, YouTube obviously having its golden era, now like TikTok shorts. Like how would you describe for you how that's been in terms of those shifts between these different phases, if you will, of the space?
Well, I think it's changed a lot. I think in terms of like my content, when I first started out, I was doing a lot of like trending videos on YouTube and stuff. I don't even think that even exists anymore. There isn't trending videos on YouTube anymore. So that was a lot of what I was doing. And it was a lot of like comedy and challenges with my family and stuff. And obviously I was vlogging every day.
Yeah.
But so in total, I was uploading like 9 videos a week. So I'd vlog every day, and then I'd
edit yourself as well.
And I'd edit myself. Yeah, honestly, when I started out, it was I look back and I'm like, I don't know how I did that.
Yeah.
I really don't. But yeah, I guess I would look at like other YouTubers, see what they're doing, and I would kind of do the same thing, put my own twist on it. Like on the actual sit down challengey videos.
Yeah.
Now I don't really do videos like that anymore. One, just where I've just grown up and that's just not really my interests.
Yeah.
And two, again, it just isn't really a thing anymore.
How do you feel about like these changes? Because I think you're so right. It's almost like YouTube for me, and looking at it, has become so much more kind of about optimization, about, you know, playing the kind of YouTube game, if you will, rather than just doing videos that are like personality led or the pop. There's so much more engineering in it. Like, how do you feel about that change from when obviously that era to now? Because it's kind of, I don't know, I think you said it on a podcast that a lot of people have left YouTube, like they're not on it anymore, obviously, like that whole golden era has kind of gone off and they're living their life. Like, how does that make you feel being at that kind of juncture really for the platform?
It makes me sad because I love YouTube more than I love any other platform. It genuinely is my favorite.
Yeah.
I miss that time. I miss where like you could upload whatever, and if it was just funny, people would just enjoy watching it. And it was, I don't know, I guess a lot more real.
Yeah.
It's hard because now all I really see on YouTube and all I kind of do is like vlogging, which essentially is like real, I guess, to some extent, right? Because it's still people filming their life.
Yeah.
But back then, I just think people cared a lot less. It was just literally just upload anything that you thought was funny.
No, everything had like a strategy.
No,
I mean?
exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, I definitely miss that.
Yeah. I think it's like a bit of an end of an era for YouTube in a way, but it's coming into a new phase. But you're right, it's a bit more sterile, I think, and a little bit more because everything's so strategic and data driven and all about retention, optimization. It's like you can play that game, but it does mean, as you're saying, you can't just make the things that you want to make in the same way. What would be your if you're a manager now, if you're managing somebody, what would be your sort of strategy for them?
I mean, to be honest, it probably would be vlogging. Because I think that is like the biggest thing on that platform right now.
Would it be YouTube? Would you tell people to still be on YouTube, do you think?
I would tell people to be on YouTube because I think you get to know somebody on a different level a lot more than other platforms. Like, but I don't necessarily think it's a platform to grow. Like, I think with YouTube and Instagram and stuff, with TikTok and Instagram, it's so easy to grow. It's so fast paced. I would probably recommend somebody to go on those platforms more than YouTube. Yeah. But I think, with YouTube, it's if you want people to really get to know your personality, then that's the platform that you should be on.
Like I had a moment, I was thinking about it earlier, how like the valuation of creators is just so different to how it was because there's so many people out there. So someone like you, where people really know you, you've got that connection with people. But actually for so many now, like having 1 million followers on TikTok is not really a thing. And there isn't really the value even in money in business to generate a whole career even with 1 million followers on somewhere like TikTok, whereas 1 million on YouTube obviously is so much more valuable in a way. But now it's like, where does it go? Because actually is it just there's so many creators, there's so many people that the kind of up and down is so much quicker, whereas before you maybe had 7 to 10 years of real kind of relevance at the top end without maybe even having to reinvent yourself. Now it's like up, people shoot up, they become popular and then they're down again super quickly. Like how does when you look at the kind of new wave of creators, especially on TikTok coming through, like what's your sort of sense on that? Like what do you think is that kind of the life cycle now of a creator? Because it seems like it's very different to how it was.
Yeah, I think it's exactly like you said, it's so different to how it used to be. Like it's crazy as well because even though I have more followers now than I did back then, I felt way more like, I don't know if popular is the right word, but I felt like way more popular back then, if that makes sense, because there wasn't really anyone doing it, that those numbers did feel Well, you didn't really hear of those sort of numbers
for
back
sure.
then.
Even
But
like
now,
100K when you started, right, was so big because there weren't that many people doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think it is really hard. I think it is so much quicker now for people to rise, but also it is so much easier for them to just, for one, find. The problem is there's so many people doing it. It's so easy to find someone new. But I do genuinely believe, like, if you love what you do, and even if you've grown really quickly and you love what you do, I do think you can easily make it last. But I also think you just need to be aware that, like, I think there's as much as we're saying, like, there's so many people doing it now, I do think there's enough space for everyone. Like, why is there not enough space? So I think if you have that mindset and you just love what you do, then you shouldn't drop off, you know?
For sure. I mean, one thing I wanted to ask you as well around kind of, you know, obviously 15 to 22 now, all the way through your career, obviously there'll be moments where there'll be like negativity, there'll be hate, there'll be things, as you're saying, you've got high conviction, you're super like confident, but there'll always be things which maybe cut through a little bit or whatever. Like, how have you sort of found managing that for yourself in terms of dealing with negativity, dealing with hate, and also dealing with, you know, Twitter, like some of these platforms that can be super like toxic? Like, how have you managed that? And also like TikTok today, like, bro, these kids are brutal.
TikTok is so nice. Brutal. Yeah.
Like, how do you manage that personally?
I think, honestly, you've probably heard everyone say this, but I think the only thing you can genuinely do is just block it out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really think there's any other way you can manage it. Like, there's, you know, I can't remember the last time, and there's so many times I've gone to do it. I've gone to like search my name up on Twitter and I'm like, don't even do it. Because I just know it's going to be full of comments that probably aren't very nice about me, and I just would rather not see it. And it's funny that you, like, you know, you say, oh, because you're such like a confident person, and I am, in the sense of, like, you know, if I want something, I know that I'll do everything I can to try and get it, but also at the same time, like, I'm not always, and so like some things, right? Some things can definitely, like, can affect me massively. So I just think ignoring it is like really the only way that I can deal with it. And just being around people that are positive, happy people, I think, who you surround yourself with really does impact your life. So
was there a time recently, or when was the last time when you've made the mistake of kind of digging into it or going into it? Like, has there been a time relatively recently, or when was the last time that that's happened where you were like, actually, I regret doing that? Or when your name's been trending, like, has there been times when that's happened where you've gone, nah, that was not worth it?
Quite a lot. I mean, on TikTok, like, whenever I see my name trend quite a lot, and every time it trends, I do click on it. And I click on it every time, and it's normally like some sort of hate video about me or something. And that, I don't know, last time I did that probably literally like 3 weeks ago.
Right.
But then I actually try and not. It's funny, I don't actually really use. I use the apps to upload my own content, and I love TikTok, I love YouTube, I love watching it all, but I try not to like look at comments and stuff, to be honest, like, as a whole, and I try not to watch and scroll for too long, because also it can just be so obsessive.
And I guess there's never an end point, right? Like, you can just keep going.
I
think I hear a lot, like, you just have, like, the thick skin cliche, like, you just need thick skin. It's almost nowadays it's times 100 in a way, because like the negativity, and actually some people, I think Joe said it actually when he was on GymShark, where the comments on YouTube back in the day were quite nice, and actually everyone was very supportive, and it was a real positive community. Whereas now,
I even feel now on YouTube, it's nice. I feel like YouTube's just a really nice
little bubble.
platform.
Everyone's happy. Everyone's happy. But like, do you've got obviously lots of friends in the space, and I'm sure loads of people your co-host as well, Anastasia on the podcast. She's probably, I'm sure, had similar situations. You know, it feels like a rite of passage for everyone these days where something happens. How is it, is it important to have people who've shared those experiences? Like, do you talk about it with your creative friends who've been through similar situations? Like, do you sort of support each other when this sort of stuff happens?
Yeah, definitely. I think Anna's actually a really good example, because obviously she's one of my closest friends, and we grew, at the same time. So we kind of went through it all together. And we always speak to each other about it. And do you know what? As much as we absolutely do not wish it upon each other at all, it's quite nice, because it's like, at least it's not just me. Sometimes you feel like the whole world is against you, when actually that's not the case. It actually does happen to everyone. And actually, quite frankly, people don't actually care enough. Like, to them, it's just a throwaway comment.
Yeah.
But to you, it's affected you so much. But actually, people don't care enough because they'll just find someone else to say it to the next day.
Yeah.
Going back to what you said, I think the hardest part is nowadays, if you make a negative video about someone, even if I made a negative video about someone and then a really nice one, well, the one that's going to blow up is a negative one. Like, that's just what's going to happen. So I think that is the problem, is that's how a lot of people are growing, is by actually bringing others down.
Yeah. And I guess on YouTube it was like the commentary channels and all of that, but actually now on TikTok it feels like it's everyone, because everyone can see that, like, actually if you make a video on this topic and it's trending, add your negativity. And do you find like your headspace and your mental health is a lot better because you sort of stay away from like being like obsessively on the platforms?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I know if I was more on the I know I could, you know, have a lot more followers than I have now if I was more on the platform. But like, quite frankly, I'd rather just be in a place where like I enjoy what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I don't have to, I don't know. Yeah. Social media, as much as it does have, you know, there's so many amazing things about social media, I do also think it can be such a negative place. So I do prefer just kind of being in my own world. And like, I don't know, I don't really care for like a viral video anymore. Like, honestly, I'm not really that bothered about that. Like, I'd rather just be doing what I love and uploading for the people that genuinely just enjoy watching me and my content. And I'm just grateful that I have those people that just watch, you know?
Sure.
So
for sure. And I think that's a really like nice place. It must be a nice place to be in, rather than, you know, if you're focused 100% on just chasing the algorithm, chasing views, you kind of have to, I don't know, from my observation, give your whole life to these things in a way that isn't healthy. And I'm sure as you've gotten older, like, you know, I'm sure like with most people, they want to actually live as well and actually enjoy their life, not give 110% to making videos all day, every day. Because I don't know, especially with TikTok, like editing, or like, you know, storytelling, like all of that stuff takes up so much time. Like how can anyone balance? I always look at people and I go, how can you balance that with your life, with the demand of a platform like TikTok where people are uploading 3 to 5 times a day or whatever?
yeah.
So GymShark, working with them for a while, I think like no one does it better, I think, in the influencer space. I just think they've just smashed it.
Yeah.
I mean, what's it been like to work with them? Like, how has that kind of, how has that changed the way that, because I think they do it so differently, has that changed your view on brand deals? Like, what has been your relationship like with them? Because it seems like they're quite a pivotal part of your kind of branded content world, if that makes sense.
First of all, it's one of my favorite brand deals ever.
Yeah.
Because I just absolutely love the brand. And I truly like genuinely only work with brands that I love now. And GymShark is just, oh my God, I love it so much. It's all I wear. Like literally, you're surprised I didn't come in GymShark today. But yeah, I think the way that they've grown as a brand is just amazing. I think every brand looks up to them, really. But yeah, they're so amazing to work with. Like, I think they're so amazing to work with because they really listen to you as a creator. And, you know, I go through different stages throughout my life where like I'm super into fitness and then, you know, I don't work out for a few months, like all of us do. We all have different times in our life where we're like super in shape and then we're just not. And they don't really care. Like they don't care if you're not working out that month. Like they just want to work with you when, I don't know, it feels comfortable for you. Yeah. Sort of thing. So
for sure. How long have you been working with them now?
3 years.
Wow. That's because I think that why they've just killed it in the space is they're like long term. Do you know what I mean? They always do like long term partnerships with people who I think they like, you know, really love and see as a good fit rather than just flash in the pan. I mean, is it a lot better to work like that for you as a creator, do you find, rather than just transactional, like chasing, you know, deliverables?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's so much better to work long term because also it just looks so much more authentic.
Yeah.
And obviously it is more authentic. I think naturally when anyone sees ad now on something, even if you love the brand, they just think, oh, well, it's just an ad.
Yeah.
And especially if you are just doing it one off, it's going to definitely just look more like ad-like as such. Yeah. So I think long-term partnerships are one of the best things.
Yeah.
And it's hard because obviously with all the ASA rules and stuff now, like brands that I love that I've worked with, you know, a lot of the time I still have to put things like, this isn't an ad, but I work with the brand. Or I even have to put ad when I'm not even getting paid. Just because I've worked with them before. So I just think long-term partnerships are like by far the best thing.
Is that one of the regulations as well?
It's a little bit confusing. But yeah, it is.
So if you've worked with a brand before and you like talk about them again, you still have to declare it.
Declare it, yeah. Which I actually find crazy because my opinion on that is, okay, so like Coke Zero, for an example, I drink Coke Zero every single day. Like it's one of my
like,
favorite
what are you gonna
things.
do?
Like,
yeah,
like, and the thing is, then it doesn't seem authentic because everyone's like, well, she just like, is she getting paid like a stupid amount of money? I'm like, I'm getting nothing.
Yeah, I paid for this.
Yeah, I paid for this drink from the shop like you did.
But you're gonna do that with because is the expectation then that you're going to do that with every brand that you've ever like in your whole life? If you've been doing this for like 10 years, you've worked with every company. What are you declaring every single product in your house? Like,
I know. I mean, that's what I find it absolutely baffling. And
the weirdest one, like,
there's more rules that keep coming in. So it's like
we had one that where because we've like with the vodka brand we launched and other stuff with the side bend, the like to promote your own brand you have to say it's an ad.
Yeah, I think
I don't get that either.
I don't get that either. Listen, when something's an ad, I fully agree to put an ad on it. 100% of sure. Obviously we should say that it's an ad because we're getting paid, and you know that makes full sense. Even when you get things like gifted to you and you put gifted. It's kind of annoying, but like I get it. Like it's not that big of a deal. Say that it's gifted, sure.
But I want to move on to your podcast. So when did that start? What's it been like to kind of jump into that space? And how have Spotify been? Because that is a big move, right? And actually going to a proper studio and having it all set up. So what's that been like for you?
Well, Spotify have been incredible. First of all, like they're just such an amazing team to work with, and you know they're just so open to ideas and stuff. And I just love the team that we work with. It just it feels so nice. So I've only been doing it for like 6 months, which is crazy. But I mean the whole experience. I mean, obviously I do it alongside Anastasia, who's one of my bestest friends. It's really nice because I feel like with obviously podcasts, you just get to open up a lot more. And I think it's nice because although I do that a lot within my vlogs and stuff, I feel like also people get to see another side of me, which is really nice. And it's also really cool as well, like interviewing other people. Like that's such a fun thing. Like I really enjoy doing that. So it's brought a lot, and it's also, I guess, like taught me a lot as well. But I mean, I love just, as you can tell, I love talking. So it's fun.
And how did you arrive at the concept? Was it Spotify coming to you and saying, you know, we think this idea, let's say we're working with a production company and this idea would be great for you guys? Or was it you guys coming with the idea to them?
So it was actually Spotify that came with the idea.
Okay, great.
And the second we heard it, we was like, oh my God, that's so cool. Yeah, like we'd love to do that. And it is so different to everything we talk about in our vlogs. Like, I don't know, I do lots of videos that are like, you know, relatable sort of like girl chats and like, you know, sometimes I'm a bit TMI or whatever, but like not to the degree that this podcast, I mean, it's called Sex Slides and DM Slides, right? So it's a lot. And so, it was, I don't know, it just excited both of us. Like I would love to listen to girls talk to me about that sort of stuff because, you know, as young girls, like we go through a lot and experience a lot, and it's nice to know that other people, you know, have gone through all of that too. So
having the podcast and obviously the topics of the podcast, how do you find like balancing, to your point before, around like sharing? Like how have you found like drawing the lines as a 22-year-old rather than a 15-year-old?
Well, I think with our podcast especially, there's a line that's got to be drawn. Obviously with the topics. And I think I struggle with it more than Anna does, because I don't, there's some things I don't want to talk about. And obviously it's a very personal topic, right? So to be honest, I don't really know how I draw the line. Like sometimes I say things and I'm like,
cut.
Oh, like how did I really just say that? Like, but then I think, I don't know. I know whatever like you said on a podcast, people are more, people actually like just hearing things that are just more real and genuine. So like anything I say, I feel like no one's going to judge me for it. It's just whether or not I want to talk about it, you know? So I don't really think I've got to the point where I know what that line is yet. I'm still trying to like figure that out.
Has there been an example where there's been like, you know, your dating life where like a real ramification? Like you've said something and someone's been like, come again? Or something like, has there been anything or not yet?
So if like, I was dating someone, I don't want to just go online and be like, oh, I'm dating someone because, you know, it's like really, it's like quite a, you don't get a private life online. So that's something I want to hold on to for as long as I can before I share it everywhere. And obviously with the podcast and it being about dating and stuff, normally I have to talk about that sort of stuff. So it's hard because like, I don't want to lie to anyone, but also like, you know, I want to keep that like my private little thing.
Yeah.
I say that. I'm not dating anyone. So it really sounds like I'm dating someone. But I haven't found the balance. And also like sometimes me and Anna will like stitch each other up and be like, oh, so tell us about that guy, huh?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, it's like that text I got from you last night, like what's going on there? Yeah, for sure. And for you personally, like what are your kind of aspirations beyond what you're doing now? Because you've got incredible platform, you've been doing so amazingly for so long, like you've got everything there. Like what do you want to do personally?
Like in the future?
Yeah, like business-wise or creatively, are there any ideas or any things where you go, yeah, like one day I'd love to have that or do that? Like what's kind of next?
I feel like there isn't like one long-term goal. I mean, like something I've been doing for such a long time now is acting. Like I would love to be an actress in the future.
Interesting.
Which is, I guess, a very different path to what I'm doing now. But also, I don't know, like there's so many things and I don't really I like success to like more so be the noise rather than just keep talking like I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. I mean, for me, I've never really been someone that's been like interested in, unless it was something I was really interested in, I'm not like, I don't really think I'm that much of like a businessy person. Like I just love the whole creative side of it. That's what I love doing. So I don't know, hopefully just elevating what I've got, I guess. To
acting's
some degree.
super interesting.
But yeah, and I love that so much, genuinely. So
if you could be like in any role,
Marvel.
Marvel.
I'd be like Superwoman or something. Yeah, I think because that's my favourite. So
amazing. Have you always wanted to be an actor? Like, is acting always been
but I acted as a child. I always like kind of sung, dance, act as a child. And then I didn't do it for so many years. And unfortunately, the thing that I neglected was acting for so many years. And then like the past year or so, I've just been doing it again and like training every single day. And it's just
amazing. Yeah.
And it's so nice because when I started doing it again, I felt like my younger self. I can't explain it. I felt like
must be a weird like you probably as a 7-year-old like on stage again, like that buzz that you probably got for the first time.
It's literally like that. It was literally like all of that came back again, and it was so nice.
That'd be sick. You should do it, man.
Yeah.
So the person sort of sitting here today, Saffron now, 2023, what would you say to yourself at 15, looking back?
I would say don't be so hard on yourself. I still probably tell myself that now, but especially back then, like I used to, I don't know, like worry about like the tiniest things that really just aren't important. Yeah, I guess just don't be so hard on yourself, and like it will all work out. What's meant to be will be. I know back then, like when I first started, although, you know, my life at like 15 was crazy and it was so full on, like I would literally beat myself up about so many little things. Like even if I missed an upload day, like I would literally beat myself up about it. Or if I didn't go up however many followers, because I was literally addicted at that. Like when I was that young, it was full on. So yeah, I guess just care less. I guess.
Care less, live more. Just, I guess as you've sort of shown, right, be more present and just enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, enjoy the moment. Yeah.
Rather than put the pressure. And also, I guess, from everything you've said, don't let the platforms like dictate your life, because it seems like you've sort of rebelled against that, where a lot of people are like, right, still chasing views, chasing followers. You're in a position where you're confident and you know, actually, I'm going to do what makes me happy and everything else will come, and what will be, rather than like, I need to be uploading every day, doing this and this because that's what the algorithm's pushing me to do.
Yeah.
And who is a creator that you're loving at the minute?
To be honest, I mainly watch my friends and family. Genuinely, like there isn't someone I actually solidly watch that I don't know. I think for so many different reasons. Like there's a lot of people I've met that, like, I guess, I'm not going to name names, but weren't really exactly who I thought they would be online. And then there's also, I don't know, like I feel like I have such a busy life that I don't actually get to see my friends and family, and all my friends and family are pretty much creators at this point. So
just keeping up to date with them.
Yeah, so it's like I get to keep up to date with them.
Yeah.
Back like when I first started out, there was so many people that like I looked up to and I absolutely loved. Like Zoella and stuff. Like I was honestly obsessed when I was a child. I can't even tell you. And like there was this YouTuber from America called Alicia Marie, and I mean, I literally wanted to be her. I was so obsessed with her. I loved her so much. It's actually a full circle moment because the other day I was in America with her.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, and I literally said to her, oh my God, like, I can't believe how many years
like
I watched
inside,
you.
like,
yeah. But it's funny, like, I wasn't fangirling because now, like, I wasn't, but it was such a full circle moment.
Yeah.
I was like,
Your
if my
younger self
self
would have
knew,
been. Yeah.
my younger self, I mean,
really
would have been
just,
like freaking out. But yeah, now, honestly, I just mainly watch like my friends and family and stuff. So like, there's no one really like in particular. I don't think I watch who's like popular now, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for
coming
on.
I could have
honestly talked to you all day.
Thanks.
And yeah, keep smashing it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.